Paradox, the Kabbalistic Path of Expanding Consciousness, Part 8, Tools for Managing Paradoxes, Introducing the Hashmal Jig, 2 of 3. Ambivalence occurs when two compelling yet contradictory options present themselves, and we don't know which one to choose. This is a sure sign that we have stumbled upon a paradox, which we are defining as a truth that the logical mind cannot grasp in its fullness, and so instead the truth splits into two mutually exclusive half-truths that contradict each other and yet, irrationally, are both true. The paradox of follow your head and follow your heart produces a complex array of options that overwhelm the logical mind. It then responds by slicing the complexity into manageable bites, and this produces the polarities that we experience as paradox. Chashmal is the Torah's radical advice for managing paradox. It turns the vacillation of ambivalence into a spiritual practice that trains the mind to hold complexity and facilitates right action. Kabbalists note that the word Chashmal, electrum, is built from two subwords that have contradictory meanings. Chash means silence, and mal means speech. Chash and mal, silence and speech, are literally opposites and produce a specific paradox unto themselves. Yet as Kabbalistic polarities, they also serve as a prototype for all paradoxes. Here, now, we will explore the paradox of Chash and Mal in its literal sense. In subsequent lessons, we will generalize upon these teachings and use Chashmal to model the universal features of every paradox. Chash, silence, marks a pole of utter surrender to God's will as conveyed by the circumstances of this present moment. It is a genuine acceptance without protest or complaint of whatever is. Everything that the Merciful One does is good. I know that this is the best possible option. If I were aware of all the factors that God compiles to design this moment, I would also choose exactly this. I have nothing to say, but thank you. Mal, speech, highlights the imperfection of this moment, the gap between what is and what is supposed to be, given our messianic ideal. Mal includes all of our exertions towards self-improvement and tikkun olam, for these are also actually a type of prayer. In formal prayer, we express our desires through speech, but we also express our wishes through our investments of time and effort, which are rightly dubbed prayer in action. Oi, I am broken. The world is broken. Even with all the blessings in my life, there's so many pieces missing. I can't pay my bills. I struggle with my spouse. My kids are unruly. There is so much illness. Causeless hatred is rampant. Jews are still being murdered simply for being Jews. Children are starving in much of the world. Wars ravage the planet. Even with all our blessings, the fact remains that Mashiach is not here. There is so much lack. There is so much pain. There's so much to pray for. When grappling with the paradox of Chashmal, a person wavers between acceptance and discontent, silence and speech, Chash and Mal. Experiencing them both is true. They try to choose one and reject the other, but its opposite truth wells up and drowns their resolve. And really, it is right to feel ambivalence when faced with paradox. It is one step in the Hashmal Jig. The Talmud presents its solution as follows. These assertions and these which totally contradict them are both words of the living God. Yet in this instance, the practical ruling follows opinion X. Acceptance and discontent are both good. There's a time for this and a time for that. The question is, which one does this moment call for? This Talmudic advice translates into the Hashmal Jig, an essential tool for addressing paradox. Its first step is to find the truth of both competing claims and to dance back and forth between them, spending time in each one's shoes. The idea is not to create a lukewarm mush of its two contradictory extremes, a compromise that is neither here nor there, like in this diagram where the fire melts the ice and the ice extinguishes the flames, and so you are left with a lukewarm puddle that has no power to do work. With the Hashmal Jig, we get the best of both worlds. We get the energetic drive of the extremes and the centered strength of moderation. The practice is to start with one pole and find its truth. Step into its eye center and see the world from that angle and say yes to it with all your heart. And then step out of that eye center and embrace the opposite pole. View the world from its perspective and say yes to it with all your heart. And then back and forth again and again. The greenhorn vibrates slowly with weeks, months, or even years between his shifting poles. The result is that much time is spent unbalanced. Acceptance is rejuvenating, but if not counterbalanced, it neglects the work required to create the conditions for progress to materialize. It's too passive. But on the other hand, we exert ourselves to secure success. But if not counterbalanced, we are liable to A, forget our dependency on the divine, and B, burn out. A master dances between the two eye centers so rapidly that his traces accumulate into a gestalt greater than the sum of its parts that is both fervent and stable. The effect is similar to a propeller spinning so fast it actually appears stationary. This is the mystery and the mastery of Chashmal, the world's most potent tool for refining will and empowering prayer. It is the first step of our Hashmal Jig. In summary, a paradox is confusing because its truths are incompatible, but the moment requires a choice. You have to pick one and reject the other. But the one left behind is no less true than the one you've chosen, which makes it hard to sustain the choice. People spend their whole lives wavering back and forth between the poles of a paradox, unable to move forward. The solution is the Hashmal Jig, which happens inside one's heart. The idea is to articulate the paradox's two contrary truths and dance back and forth between them, embracing this truth and then the other and then the first again, and ideally to do so at a very rapid clip. The Chashmal Jig fulfills the first step of the Talmud's advice. These and these which contradict them are both words of the living God. Its second step, yet the practical ruling follows opinion X, that will be explored in the next lesson.